Are you looking for a story of overcoming challenges? Are you looking for inspiration, how your life can get turned around? My name is Andy Albright. I'm in 24/7. Are you? I am president of National Agents Alliance. And today I would like to introduce you to my great friend, Marvin Osuna, who came to this country through tremendous struggles, fought for his life, fought for his family, and then joined our organization and has become extremely successful. So I want to share with you as I learn more of his journey in America and in the insurance industry. Marvin Osuna, American success story, brother. I'm trying to piece all of this together. I've heard you say different things about being from Guatemala and how you came to America, but just high level, remind me, how did you get here? Like what was the circumstances? And I know it wasn't by the book. Talk to me.
Yeah, definitely it wasn't by the book. Thank you so much. This is so much fun to be here and spend some time with you. Um, so back in the 80s, I'm saying 1983, 1984, my dad had a very successful business. He had, built a business from the ground up, and he had, different trucks. They would transport food to different parts of the country. And he was approached in 84, towards the end of 1984, by a group of people, a group of activists, people that were against the government at the time. And they said, we need to come to you once a month and collect some money because we need to buy weapons. We need to, build our equipment. We build our army so that we could do what we need to do. And he refused to do it. He said, "Nope, I'm not going to do that. That's not what I work for." And
Marvin, this is Guatemala, right?
yeah, this is in Guatemala and Central America.
Central America, and this is over 30 years ago.
Yes.
And was it government coming to it, or was it like the underground coming to him and kind of, I don't know if you call it extortion, but asking for money?
Yeah. So this is what they called back in those days the guerrilla group, people that were against the government. And
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
they had.
It wasn't an official group. It was a guerrilla group who was against the official group.
Correct. Yeah, that's mainly what it was. And so they wanted to buy weapons. So they would always do that. They would come to business owners, extortion. They would do whatever they could do to get money. That way they could buy weapons from other countries and everything. So he refused to do it. And about a week later, my mom noticed that there was a black Suburban parked across the street from our house. So over there in Guatemala, anytime you'd see a black Suburban for any number of days, close to somebody's house, dark windows and everything, that meant that the end was coming, that, something was going to happen to one of the members of that family. And so, my dad was traveling at the time, and my mom called and said, "Do not come home. They're waiting for you. They come and park their car here for X number of hours, every day. And they're just waiting for you to return. So do not come home." And so, this is what I found out later. They weren't telling any of the kids, what was going on. We're just going to school, living our normal lives.
So what age would you have been?
Yeah, I was 11 years old at the time. Yeah. So, one night I noticed that everybody was packing, and I remember asking, where are we going? Because I was used to, going on trips with the family. My dad made good money, so, thank God we would travel around and have fun and everything. But they said, well, this time we get to travel to the U.S. and once we're there, we're going to take you guys to Disneyland. So, they were trying to make it seem like, yeah, it was going to be a lot of fun. So I got excited. My little sister got excited. There's 5 of us kids, and I'm the fourth. I have three older sisters and I have one younger sister. And so, being 11 years old and, hearing about Disneyland, of course you get super excited. So I started packing my clothes and they said there's a chance that we might be there for a long time. So, get whatever you can and take it, put it in your bag if it fits. So I remember grabbing a couple toys, and putting those in my bag, my favorite toys, which is so weird. It was a couple of wrestlers that I had bought in Mexico during one of our trips to Mexico. Um, and so I put those in my bag, and then we got on the bus, and it was probably 2 in the morning. When we got on the bus, I remember it was very dark. We didn't sleep that night. And so that's basically what you had to do. You had to flee in the middle of the night, before, the people would show up in the morning. So um, took off. I remember we traveled for hours until we got to the border. We had Mexican passports, and so we could travel through Mexico at the time. So we took off, went through Mexico, and basically just rode the bus the entire way. Unfortunately, what happened was that through us, crossing Mexico and going through the different cities, we came to a place in Mexico where my father was detained and he was asked to give up all his money. And they said, if you don't give us all your money, and then this was, the law out there in Mexico. They said, well, you guys are from Guatemala. So they said, yeah, but we got our passports and, they're legal here in Mexico. And they're like, well, not to us. So if you don't want us to keep the women here in jail, for a long time, then, give us your money. If not, you can't go, or they can't go. We'll keep all the women and the kids. And so, of course, my dad, he had to give him everything he had. So that was like halfway through our trip. And so, from that point on, he was thinking, what are we going to do? It was, the seven of us plus one of my aunts decided to travel with us, plus two of my cousins that my dad, he decided to bring them with us because they were suffering over there. So there was like, 9 of us or 10, something like that. And so no money, we're in the middle of Mexico. And so my dad decided to go to a church. We talked to a pastor, told him our situation, and we stayed in someone's house for like 3 to 4 days. And they bought us a bus ticket from that town all the way to the border, the U.S. border. So, in 1984, when you don't have a visa to come to the U.S., the only thing that they could do at the time was, and fortunately for us, my dad's sister lived in Lake Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe in California at the time. And she said, I'm going to pay for somebody to get you across the border. And so we waited in Tijuana for like 3 days. And then I remember one evening they said, okay, this is where we start our journey. So bring all your stuff. And, we started walking, these dirt roads, up these hills, through all these potato fields and just, crazy stuff where I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that we were walking nonstop. So we walked all night. It was very dangerous. A couple of us got hurt. I remember I was trying to wipe the mud off of my shoe. I was hitting my shoe on a board inside of this shed where we were just resting for a few minutes. And I didn't know that there was a nail sticking up. And as I, hit the board or kicked the board, the nail went through my shoe, and it pierced my foot. It was very painful. And we couldn't stop. We couldn't do anything. We had to keep walking. And so it was about 6 a.m, walking all night with the entire family. And we were detained in a place called San Isidro. That's the border, right before you get to San Diego. So we were detained by immigration. they said, you don't have all your papers, so we're going to take you to this family detention center. So then they took us to San Diego. There was a place in San Diego. It was a huge hotel. Back then, it was called El Cortez Hotel. And they turned it into a detention center for families. So the way it works is that if you come in and you're an adult, right? If, the guys, they get sent to a different, jail, different prison where they just have all the guys. And then the same thing for girls. But when you have a family, when you have little kids, they would take you to this place, which is crazy because that place is now a church. My dad started, sharing, about his faith with people in that detention center. And they would gather like 40, 50, 90 people twice a week. And he was, sharing about faith and hope and God and everything. And I remember it was just, a really cool experience. Of course, like I said, I was 11. So a lot of times I was just like, oh, this is fun. This is exciting. This is something new. We're trying new foods and everything else. So after a month, my aunt paid a fine for us to be able to get out and come up to Lake Tahoe. And then after that, we were in court proceedings for a number of years, in which my dad was applying for what's called political asylum. So that's when they give asylum or protection to people who have life-threatening situations in their country. And we're just going to court, and it was kind of, and it's, when I think about it, it's kind of like a movie because my sister and I, we were thrown into, when we came up to Tahoe, we were thrown into this ESL program, English as a Second Language. There was a elementary school that had a very intense English program where you were learning English like 8 hours a day. They weren't just throwing you into classes like they do most of the kids in almost every school. You just go in there and you're not understanding what they're saying, so you're just sitting there just nodding your head. They would take us to a separate room, one-on-one, working with teachers. And within about 6 months, we were able to understand almost everything that people were saying. So that was really cool. But going to one of those court hearings in San Francisco, because we would always travel with my dad, and then we sit right behind him and the attorney. I remember my dad's attorney showing some letters to the judge, letters that would come from Guatemala, from family members saying, be careful, don't come back because this person came and they were looking for you. They were asking where you went, stuff like that. And I remember the attorney or the judge asking the attorney, so do you think at this point that they would qualify for political asylum? And my dad's attorney, the person that they had been paying for such a long time, she said, no, Your Honor, I don't think that they have enough evidence to qualify for political asylum. So, if you need to deny the case and send them back, that's completely up to you. She didn't know that my sister and I were understanding every word she was saying. So we told our parents, after the court hearing, they decided to fire her and find other ways to appeal, the judge's decision. So for a number of years, they were filing appeals and, having court hearings. So, by this time, I'm like 15, 16, I started to notice like what was going on. And so at one point they said, okay, you have this, it was kind of like a penalty, for this particular situation or application. They said you have to remain inside the country for a number of years. You cannot leave the country. And, during that time, my dad was always, trying to find ways to get things right, to set things up the right way for us. So he hired another person out of Sacramento that was, working on his case and trying to get him to become a resident. So They succeeded. Step one was completed. Everything was good. And then this person said, okay, now I need you to bring me the fine that immigration is going to charge for your entire family. At the time, I believe that there was 4 of us at the time that my dad was applying for, because my other sisters were over 18. And so she said $2,000 per person. So, back in I don't know, um, 89, 90, my dad had to come up with $8,000 in fines so that she could send that money to immigration. Well, he brought the money to her. She lived in California. Didn't hear from her for another, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. So then my dad and I decided to go visit this person, kind of like a paralegal. No longer there. She had an office at home. The house was empty. I guess she did the same thing to a bunch of people, just said, immigration is asking for $2,000 a piece. So, she probably took tens of thousands of dollars. And so they denied my dad's application again because he didn't file everything on time and didn't pay the fines. So, that created another, for us, another 10, 20 years of just trying to apply, trying to get things right. And, by the grace of God, I feel that, being part of this company and just having those aspirations, to travel and to do better. And, we started making money more than ever before, because before we used to make enough money just to pay our bills.
Hold on. You skipped 20 years right there for me, bro. So you were taking me through month by month, and then we skipped 20 years.
I know.
So let's back up a little bit. All right. So your family basically escapes persecution in Guatemala. I would call it political persecution, because you had this guerrilla group and then the government group, and you didn't look like y'all didn't want to pick sides and decide just get the heck out of the country.
Yeah.
Is that a fair summary?
That's correct.
And your dad, he wasn't going to stand for the government, and he wasn't going to fight against them either. He's like, we're out of here. We're going to America.
Correct, because that would have been that same week, if we hadn't left, that would have been a situation where you pull up to your house and then 6 to 7 people step out of that Suburban and they go get in our car, and then that's the last time you see that person. So it was very close.
Okay. And I mean, of course, this is you reflecting back. At the time, you're oblivious. You think y'all are going to Disney World in America.
Correct.
And now you look back and you realize you about lost your dad. Now, is your dad passed now?
Yeah. So he passed in 98. So it was.
So he would have got maybe 7 or 8 years here in America.
Yeah. So he had lived here before. In the 70s, he had lived in Fort Worth, Texas. Okay. So that's kind of how he rebuilt his business. Is he came here to work, and of course he had a working visa at the time that he could come and work for 6 months or so, and that's how.
So he had start kind of establishing himself in America prior to leaving Guatemala permanently.
Correct.
So at one point you said they took all his money. Does that mean he had everything he was carrying with him? Bank accounts? Did he lose bank accounts? Did he lose all of his wealth? Or was it just what he had on him? How did that work?
So before we left, they sold everything we had. And then there was a couple things that his family members were supposed to sell because, of course, he didn't have time. But back in those times, you wouldn't carry things like credit cards. That was kind of it wasn't a foreign, I guess, concept, but you couldn't really carry credit cards anywhere because they weren't really accepted. in like Latin American
So
countries, carry cash.
they didn't have a crypto and have a wallet they could carry with them.
No, no. 1984. So you just carry,
We laugh.
big bills in your wallet. So all the cash that he carried between him and my mom to take care of all the travel expenses and stuff like that, it was taken away.
I don't think people understand what can happen in a country if things go bad. Bank accounts, cash value, like if you've got equity in property and they obtain the property, you can lose every. It's possible you can lose everything like that. You looking back, you saw this happen.
Oh my gosh. Um, Once I started learning about it, as I got older, um, it was very scary because you'd hear about it all the time, from other people saying, oh, this person, got killed and that person got killed. I remember my sisters, I'm going to say like 70% of the people that they went to school, got killed. And it was either um, people robbing them or, just it was a very violent time, I guess, to say the least, in the 90s. And so I know that it would have been the end for my dad if we had not left.
So so you get through. You're in America. You're becoming a young adult. What would you consider yourself? Were you illegal? Were you an immigrant? Were you undocumented? I don't know the wording for that. Or what did you consider yourself? Like, could you get jobs? Was it difficult for you as a young adult? What was your status?
You know what? At the time, growing up, I didn't consider myself undocumented, because this is kind of funny. And when I tell people this, they go like, "You did what?" So when my aunt paid the fine for us to get out, and start working in this long process, immediately what they did, which I don't know, I don't think they do it now, but what they did is they granted my mom and my dad work permits. And this covered like the entire family. So with these work permits, we were allowed to apply for a social security card, with the Social Security Administration. So we
Okay.
had work permits and we had um, social security cards. We didn't have green cards, but we had these other two documents. And so for us, the reason why I said it was funny is because my sister and I, the second week that we moved to Lake Tahoe, like I said, I was still 11. My older sister, she was like 14. We went across the street to like a little motel in front of the apartment complex, and we asked the guy there for a job, and he's like, "Oh, sure, I need somebody to, clean the rooms and do the laundry and stuff like that." So her and I were the first ones who got jobs here. So I started working at 11 years old, and so we go every day.
So so you considered yourself an American. I mean, hey, I'm I'm here to go to work. I work here. Like I got a social security card. I got documents. I'm good.
Yes. Um, so
You didn't see yourself as you didn't see yourself as in a predicament. You thought everything's fine. You going to work, you're making money, dad's making money.
yeah, as a teenager, I grew up without any of those fears. Um, I think the first time that it really hit me, and um, and I was like, whoa, I don't think I'm going to be accepted for a lot of different things. And I started to worry about it, was right before graduating high school. An Army recruiter came to the school, and I was going to sign up. I was going to enlist, but he said, do you have do you have a green card? Do you have citizenship and stuff like that? And I asked, and they're like, no, we just have these two documents. And so I told the guy, and I don't know if he knew that you could do something or not, but he said, oh, okay, I'm sorry, then you're not eligible to look into this. So that's when I felt like, oh my God, I'm being rejected. So there is a
So
problem.
you would have been 18 years old in that neighborhood.
Correct.
Wow. That must be just a sinking feeling to think, I'm lost. I'm in this country and I can't even join the military.
Yeah, because I wanted to. I felt, that I needed to serve, and if we go back to that time, that was 1991. That was in the middle of the Gulf War. That was when Iraq happened, all that stuff. So I felt the need, like many of my friends, to go and serve.
Wow. That's a lot, bro. So did you end up going to college? What did you end up doing the next few years right out of high school?
So, my number one plan, like I said, was military. That didn't work out. So, second plan was I wanted to become either an engineer or a technician, electronics technician. And so, I decided to sign up for school. I was going to go to Arizona and go to school there. Um, but for some reason, towards the end, right before leaving, I just had this feeling that it just wasn't right for me. Like I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. So I had a conversation with my dad, and he said, "Well, whatever you want to do, we'll support you." And so I just started working, just different jobs, delivering auto parts, working in restaurants, just doing different things. And my mom said, you got to prepare yourself. So whatever, if you don't want to go to that school, that's fine, but you got to do something. You got to, and I'm going to support you. I'm going to help you, pay for it, whatever we got to do, because they always had two jobs. They always wanted to make sure that we had everything we needed. And so I signed up in this modeling school, and I started learning how to act and model and stuff like that. And so she paid for that whole thing. She paid for singing lessons. She said, "Okay, you want to be an artist? Okay, I'm going to help you." And so after I graduated, I started working in like different projects, different films, first as an extra, then I was getting some feature parts here and there. So I was on my way to becoming an actor. Like I think like long term, that's what I wanted to do. Um, but then I started getting some parts that didn't really go with, like my beliefs and stuff. I'm like, I don't want to be seen like this, 20 years from now. So then I got a job. I remember right when I graduated from that school, I got a job at a credit union, and took some finance classes with the credit union. They were paying for those finance classes. And
So what age would you have been when you started doing that?
19, about to turn 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've basically figured out at this point in your life that, hey, I'm not going to college, I'm not going to military. I just got to figure this thing out. Whether it's modeling, whether it's banking, finance, like I got to find a career. That's what I'm feeling. Is this kind of give me in your head, how was you feeling like 19, 20 years old and you thinking your options are limited? What was your feeling? What was your thinking?
At the time, I was very grateful because the bank where I started working at, it was a credit union. They accepted my work permit, the only work permit that I had that was really old, but they accepted it. And of course, Social Security card, there was no problem. So I felt grateful. And because they gave me room to grow, I was able to go from teller to customer service to supervisor to branch manager. And then they had me open different branches around town until I became a business developer. So I would go and enlist these businesses to come in and have their employees join the credit union. So I ended up being a business development officer towards the end. So I felt like I had a
So
pretty good career path.
grateful, grateful and willing to work. That's what I'm hearing. Grateful, willing to get after it, ready to compete.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were being two things? Did you feel like you were compensated well when right then did you feel like it? And then looking back now, do you realize you were paid less, more? Like, how did you feel then? And then what, looking back, how would you compare it?
You know, that is a great question, Andy, because I thought I was getting paid well at the time. And because I was part of the executive team, I'm
Right.
going, okay, maybe, I'm making close to what everybody else is making, all the other managers. Um, and I don't know what this was, but the president of the bank, he came into my office and he said, you know what? My disk drive isn't working. Can I use your computer for a little bit? And I said, yeah, that's fine. So he went in there, put in, that floppy disk that we used before, he put it in there, started typing some stuff. And then he printed a couple forms and he took out the disk and he left. He said, oh, thanks. But unfortunately, he didn't close the document. So the document was still up on the computer. And all I did is, I opened the screensaver and the document was right there in front of me. So what I saw really shocked me because everybody that was in the same, executive level where I was getting a bonus. He was typing up the bonuses for the end of the year. And I was getting 10% of what everybody else was getting. And so I started thinking, what the heck? I'm doing a great job. Is it because I'm different from everybody else? Is it because, I wasn't born in this country? Like, what is it? Because I didn't see anything different as far as the position where I was. So then that's when I started, second guessing, this career path and just said, I don't want to be looked at differently. And even though I'm performing, I need to get paid for my performance rather than, what I look like.
I think I think too, more than just your career path, because you've had this conversation with me in the past that you didn't feel like, I don't know, worthy's the word, or you didn't feel like you were going to be treated fairly. And so, like when you came to us, you had some of these, I don't, image problems, some of this history that was weighting you down.
Definitely. I think it started there, Andy. And, maybe like 6 months later, somebody offered me um, an opportunity in insurance. I kept saying no because I had a different concept of insurance sales. And so I kept
Right.
saying no. But after 6 months of them going after me, I said, okay, I'll listen to what you have to say. And so the part where you make a difference with insurance like really got me hooked. And I
Right.
started working, but it was more within the same community, Spanish speaking people and stuff like that. So
Right.
I didn't feel any difference. It wasn't until I started working uh, just mainly with people who were responding to final expense or mortgage protection needs, that I started to feel a little bit different. Like maybe I'm not at the level where everybody else is at. So I did feel that at one point.
So let's talk about just skip. Boom, boom, boom. You're in your 20s. What was your high level jobs or careers? Just kind of the title, just a little subtitle.
Yeah, definitely. So through, I would say, late 20s and early 30s, my career was life insurance agent. I was a captive agent. At the same time,
Okay.
I was working with our church. My dad started a church in '96, so I was working as a youth pastor in the church.
Okay.
And at the same time, I was going to wrestling school because I wanted to also become a professional wrestler. For some reason, I always had that dream. And so I started to pursue that on the side.
So we're talking mask, tight shorts, throwing each other on the ring ropes and body slamming and all that fun stuff. The WWE type stuff today, but back in the day, it was something else.
Exactly. It was what they called independent territories of wrestling.
Gym Jim Crockett Promotions, WRAL.
Exactly, AWA, all those types of organizations. Everybody had their territory, and so we travel from territory to territory and wrestle with different people every night.
So you're an insurance agent, youth pastor, and a wrestler all at the same time.
Yes.
When you say it like that, it does kind of make you laugh,
Oh
doesn't it?
yeah. Yeah.
That was fun, wasn't it? Getting in that ring with the big boys. Who's the most famous people you wrestled?
Some of the most famous names that I got in the ring with were Greg the Hammer Valentine, who he's still alive. He's from North Carolina. Jim Neidhart from the Heart Foundation. He's from Canada. Val Venus, who was also a wrestler from the Attitude Era. And my last match was going to be against Rey Mysterio, but he had an incident in Mexico where one of the wrestlers died in the ring, and so he quit wrestling. So I didn't have that dream match that I was supposed to have with him, because he was, more of a modern superstar where, you once you wrestle with people like that, then your name starts getting out more and everything. So just things that you look
So no
forward to in that
Blackjack
business.
Mulligan, no Ric Flair, no Ricky Steamboat.
No, so at the time when I was already like really getting my name out there, and I had the heavyweight championship, which I held for like 9 months. They would bring people in that had a big name, or they were a wrestling legend. But I think at the time, Steamboat and Flair were already working as producers for their big companies, the bigger, wrestling companies. And so they were working behind the scenes, but I would have loved to have gotten in the ring with people like Ricky Steamboat, or, Ric Flair, for that matter, for sure.
Okay, so you're more West Coast, I'm more East Coast too. So it's a lot of names depending on where people are from. So so captive, so that's like where you only got a very limited product line, don't have a lot of leads, or you're really kind of, it seems tied down to me. Looking back, do you see it as that?
Oh my gosh. It's like night and day, because as a captive agent, you only have two products to work with. If the person doesn't qualify for any of those two products, they get declined, and we can't help them at all. So like half of the people that I wrote, I would have to call them back and be like, sorry, bro, but you have high blood pressure. Like, no, I don't have high blood pressure. I have white coat syndrome, which means that when you get in front of a person in the medical field, you get nervous and your blood pressure goes up, and they're like, I'm okay. And I'm like, I know you're okay, but they're saying you can't get insurance. I'm sorry. So I did that for like, over 10
When you're
years.
when you're limited like that, don't you feel like now looking back it's a disservice to your clients?
Oh my gosh, 100%. Because looking back, I know that we could have helped every single one of those people. So they were getting turned down left and right for things that were just silly. You think about them now, and it was like, oh, borderline cholesterol, they would get declined. And we had no leads. The idea of a lead was, hey, Marvin, you want leads? And I'd be like, yeah. And boom, they dumped a big phone book, all the white pages on top of my little cubicle, my desk, and be like, all right, here's your leads, go again. So
So there was no marketing, no direct mail, no internet marketing, no telemarketing, no search engine optimization, no Google, no AdWords, nothing like
oh
that.
my gosh, no. The only thing that was
Seminars, no mailings, seminars, or nothing.
nothing like that, because after your first 2 weeks of training, they kind of like let you go. So there's no meetings, there's no training, there's nothing. They just send you one tape, one cassette, or one CD a month, and like, hey, listen to this. But other than that, nobody really cared.
So during this time, you get married, you have three beautiful kids, you're growing a family. You're not elaborate, but you're growing a family, right? You're making a living. You're scratching out a space on this in this country.
Yeah, at the time, I think that the most I made was $79,000 a year. So we were able to, buy a house. It was custom built, so we got to choose all the nice things about the house, the features and everything. So we were doing okay. And then
Yeah,
2008
you're
happens.
rolling. You're in America. Oh yeah, 8 was crazy.
Hmm. Yeah. So, living the dream, having kids, it was an exciting time, in our lives. We have two boys and two girls. And so we were just super excited. But unfortunately, when you don't have a system like what you mentioned earlier, where you have leads, you work with people from all walks of life, you have to be specific to one market. So in order for me to be successful, with the other company, I had to focus on just like one segment of the market, which for me, unfortunately, I mean, back then those were the people making money, but unfortunately, builders, painters, framers, people that were cleaning yards. In other words, I was working with all the people who kind of walked away from these construction sites in 2008.
Okay, so let me restate. So high level, you're preaching. You got a youth pastor. You got an insurance license. You're with this captive group, very limited, and you're doing this entertainment gig called wrestling.
Yeah,
So it is real sports, but it's a lot of entertainment. So you're doing all that. You get married, 4 kids. You live in kind of a standard American life. It's not terrible, right? I mean, it's a good life. You're doing good.
yes, yeah. Standard life. I mean, that we had the car, the house, nice neighborhood. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, Andy. I was always looking over my shoulder because I had heard from different people that were kind of like in the same situation where I was, where they were kind of like in limbo. And, all of a sudden, 3, 4, 5 different police cars came to their house and they said, we got to take you in because you're not, legal to be here. So we're going to deport you. So I heard,
So that's in the back of your mind. You're still worried about all this.
no doubt, like my entire life, I'm talking like over 30 years, living under those shadows.
Did you ever try to leave the country during that time, or did you just know that was a bad idea?
Well, earlier, when I was younger, it was real easy to cross the border and go to Mexico and like go to a restaurant or whatever, because
That's different. That's different than leaving the country.
yeah, right. um, but you know what? I really had no desire to leave the country because most of my family was here, and that's when everything was changing. My dad passed away, so I was more like, I got to be here, take care of mom, and my kids. Everybody was having children, so the family was growing. So I really
So there was no I want to go to Italy. I'd love to go to South Africa. I'd love to go to Nigeria. I'd love to none of that. I know I'd go to France. You're not thinking that. You're thinking middle America or just lower, maybe lower America. Just do my deal. No head up, head down,
Exactly. And
raise a
yeah,
family, pay the
I
bills.
had no dreams to travel or to do, all the amazing things that we do now. I had no ambition at all because in my mind, this is what I was thinking. And I'm gonna get very transparent here. I don't know how much of this I can say, but um, almost every day when I open the garage to warm up the car so I could take my kids to school, I had that moment where I turned my head to see if there was like an immigration agent waiting for me outside of the house or something like that. So I always had that fear, that
At least it wasn't a black Suburban you were looking for.
no, it would have been a white one, but
Just as almost as bad.
yeah,
So, um, All right. So it's just hard to get in that mindset. I mean, being born in America, and that's what I love about my children traveling. You know, they've been to what was Rhodesia, and now it's Zimbabwe, and they've been to South Africa, and they've been to Mexico, and they've been to several different countries, and they've met people like Marvin Osuna, and heard him talk about different things that happened in Guatemala. And they've people like Olga Mathis, who saw things happen in Colombia, which is similar to some of the stuff that you've had happen to you.
Right.
It's having your eyes open to what can happen and the opportunity that we have in front of us in being born in America, or like you now that you are a full blown American, right? You're a citizen. You got everything now, right?
Yeah, so thank God, I was able to hire attorneys. Now that we're in a better position where we can pay our bills and put money away or travel or do things. I was able to pay because it's very expensive to hire attorneys and go through this whole process, which I had done before many times, but I was always denied, and I would start the process all over again. So
So without money, you're just stuck. Yeah, I mean, unless somebody gives you the money or you earn the money to pay for attorneys and fight the bureaucracy, you're just kind of stuck and you just live your life.
exactly, you live.
It's not a terrible life, but it's not a dream building life.
No, not at all. Like you said, you just keep your head down and you hope that they don't come to your doorstep because you're afraid that if you leave your family, you're going to be stuck somewhere for about a month before they send you back. And so your family's going to suffer because you're the main breadwinner. And so that was my biggest fear. So like you said, I had really no ambition. I just kept my head down and went to work.
So, so let's go back. So we connect, a friend of mine, a friend of yours, and we ended up working together through the alliance, still in insurance, but of course now we offer a huge array of products, financial advice, investments. It's just so many things we offer now. But when you first got involved, you did not. I don't think you envisioned it even as good as you've done. You didn't picture it that good and what you could do with it.
No, all I thought was, okay, if you're telling me that I can talk to people who actually want to hear about insurance, because for 11 years I talked to people who said, no, I'm not going to die, or they would give you some other weird excuse. But these are people who actually want to talk about insurance. I thought to myself, I can make a living, doing this. I can at least get close to 100,000 in income if I have leads, but I did not know that we have such a huge opportunity where it doesn't matter what the person's health is, what they're going through. I tell people, as long as you're breathing, we can cover you. So it's really, I think, liberating for me to be able to say that because I couldn't say that for like 11 years. And so now when I talk to my clients, I'm like, I know we can cover you. So it's a huge opportunity just knowing that we have this suite of products and that everybody's welcome. That's huge. Not having to turn people down. That was big for me and has allowed me to triple, quadruple my business, because I was losing a lot of money turning people down, and of course this was after a 2 month ordeal with the blood tests and the medical reports and stuff like that, because everybody that we wrote had to go through that whole fully underwritten process with where they take blood, urine, all that crazy stuff, and then 2 months later, sorry, you don't qualify. That was hard.
So, hey, but Marvin, also that you wouldn't being judged, that you could move up, that you could make as much money. That feeling had to come oozing out from our organization. Also, because of the variety, the diversity of success that you saw when you came with our organization.
It was like living in a black and white world, and then you go through this curtain and everything's in color because the contract I had before, and I'm serious, man, that's how I felt. The contract I had before as a captive agent would pay me 50% commission for 20 years. After 20 years, I could retire, and get a little bit of money sent to me every month, which wasn't much, but my contract never changed. You signed a contract that said, this is my commission. And if I stay with the company, like I knew a guy that was with the company for like 50 years. He was even the mayor of Carson City, the capital of Nevada, at one point, and he was still with the company when I joined after like 50 years. And he'd be like, yeah, I'm excited because we have this 50% contract. It's better than 20, better than 15. And I'm like, okay, well, that's how insurance companies work. So when I came here and they said, no, you start higher than 50. Like, what? That's my starting contract is higher than 50. Yeah. And they go, yeah. And then you can move up every month, every 2 months. You can make way more. And I thought, oh my gosh, just that alone was huge for me, because then I realized that I was going to be compensated based on my performance and how hard, if I wanted to work hard, which I love working hard, if I wanted to do that, then there was no limitation.
No discrimination, no judgment on where or your past, who your mama was from, or what country you're from, or did you speak English? No judgment, just based on the judgment was based on what you actually do, the results.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I fell in
How
love with.
excited were you? Do you remember the point when you realized that about this organization and it just hit you like, I can do it too?
For a moment, it was almost like if my heart skipped a beat. I said, what? So we're talking to people who want to talk about insurance. We got unlimited earning potential. We can get promoted to higher contract levels, which I didn't know existed. And we can get them approved, like all these different things.
And you can hire people. You can build your own agency.
Exactly. I'm like, man, I wish I would have found out about this when I was 23, 24, just getting into the insurance business.
Well, you're like me. Now you got your children that are in their 20s, and you're like, do you understand the opportunity that's in front of you, right? You're selling, I'm selling to your children, and you're selling it to my children. We're going like, guys, it's huge.
Definitely. Oh my gosh. So for me, it was like night and day. It was a huge difference. And so I saw the potential, I saw the opportunity. Don't get me wrong, I still had some of that baggage that I was carrying with me, where, maybe I didn't feel like I was equal to everybody else. But thank God, that went away. I had some great counseling, and I was able um, to look at myself and say, you know what, I deserve the same as everybody else. Like if I work hard, there's nothing different about me. It's just in my mind. I can help people that look way different than me, taller than me, different hair color, different color eyes. It doesn't matter. They're just people, and they need my help. And so that was a big change for me, which it was kind of like taking the lid off, because at that point, um, not only my production, my business grew. Like there was a lot of things, because then I didn't have anything holding me back.
Now you're starting to see other people get this success. Are you seeing some eyelids kind of open up, and kids and other people from your country, and you seeing it start to happen to them? What's that feeling like for you?
Oh man, for example, after our last convention that we had so many people walk up to me and say, you know what, we saw you up on stage, and that gives me so much hope, because we look alike, because we have similar backgrounds, because we weren't born in this country, and English was not our first language. So that gives me so much hope, knowing that this company doesn't discriminate. They don't look at you and just go, okay, well, just stay here on the side and just do your thing, make us some money. No, they're really recognizing you for your work. And so now it's a great feeling to be able to open that door to many people and say, look, we have an opportunity. We are the proof that you can do really well here in this company, that you can travel with us. It was funny because I was talking to a group of people last week in Salt Lake City. And I was telling him, I remember, walking the streets, trying to find clients, because every day that's what you do if you don't have leads. When I was with the other company, I was walking the streets, knocking on doors, talking to business people, giving out 100 business cards a day. And I said, um, I was walking and I had holes in my shoes from walking so much. And I never thought that I could, travel to places like Ireland, have breakfast with you in Ireland, at that beautiful hotel, and looking at the castles, and learning about the Titanic and things like that. And now being able to travel to Guatemala, to my country where I was born, and to show all these things to my kids and my wife, and saying, "Hey, try this food. Hey, check this out. Let's go across the lake. Rent a boat. Let's rent a cabin." Doing all those things. I mean, it's like a dream come true. If you look at the background, if you look at, like, yeah, you had to leave your house in the middle of the night. You were a little kid, and almost your entire life, you live with that shadow behind you, just going, okay, is this the day when they're gonna take me? What's gonna happen? And now being able to travel, because for some people it's like, oh, traveling's traveling, but for me it's a dream come true, because I'm able to do that now, and we couldn't do it for so many years, and I don't have that fear anymore.
Okay, so Marvin, let's talk about the feeling of now being in a business, not alone, but with other people, but it's your business. How does that feel to you?
In a sense, in my particular case, I feel protected, because what this company has allowed me to do, and build the financial stability, to have attorneys on my side, and to take care of my status, to correct those situations, has made me feel like, everything that the company provided has given me security. It has given me that protection that I needed, to make sure that my family was going to be okay. And, knowing that we can see each other, we can eat steak and lobster anywhere in the world. It just makes me feel like, yes, I am part of the family. I feel like I belong. Um, I feel just grateful, every day that I get to work and do this thing, and help other people, because I know that if I need help, I can reach out to you. I can reach out to the rest of my friends in the business, and we're a family. It's just a weird feeling, because when I worked for the other company, nobody wanted to give out their secrets or help the other person. But over here, I feel like everybody's going, here, grab my hand. I can help you. This is what I'm doing. So it's a great sense of
Nice,
peace. Yeah, for sure.
nice. Okay. So Marvin, talk to me a little bit about the view for you and Rachel, and for your children, and the legacy that you live and that you leave on earth, what you now see. What's your vision now? What's your dream?
Oh man, I love that question, because talking about legacy, I know that no matter what happens, we've been able to teach our kids, to love God and family, and be able to work hard. And since they started seeing us, travel to Hawaii, and just do all these different things, as soon as they turn 18, they go, well, I want to get my insurance license too, because I see what you do. I see that, you're making money. And it was different, because I didn't have to tell any of them to join our business, or to get their license, because I always told them, I'll support you. Whatever your dream is, I'll help you, and I'll support you the same way that my parents did for me. And so now that they see this opportunity, as soon as they turn 18, they're already studying without me even knowing. Like, they got a online course somewhere, I don't know where, but they're already studying because they want to get their license. And they see that this business has so much opportunity to where if they want to become entrepreneurs or follow acting or sports or whatever it is, they know that this business is that vehicle that can provide the finances so that they can build their dream. Because a lot of people, have dreams, but they never have the right vehicle or the opportunity to get there, because most of the time it's because of finances. And so I love the fact that they see this business and they see the opportunity, and now they're talking about, buying a house in Guatemala and buying a house in Florida and buying a place in Hawaii and traveling around the world. They can't wait, to be able to do that. So I know that this opportunity has given Rachel and I the ability to dream bigger past that point of just making money to pay our bills, but to just grow and allow our kids to see it. So I know that they all see it now. So it's just a matter of, like, how far are they going to take it, and what is that going to do for the next generation, so that when they have kids, that they can live a totally different lifestyle, because before, like Rachel says, sometimes, when we're talking to people about the opportunity and how we started, she says, before we used to buy them $1 cheeseburger at McDonald's, $1.29 cheeseburger, so that they could go and play in the little, playpen there. But now I get the opportunity to tell my kids, hey, don't look at the right side of the menu. Just tell me what you want. Like, what are you craving right now? What would you like to order? And so look at the left side of the menu so that you can. So those are, things that for me, they're huge because of where we were before. And so I have been able to see the opportunity and model the opportunity, not tell my kids so much like, hey, this is a great opportunity, but they're seeing the work every day and they're seeing the reward every single day. And they're seeing us traveling and stuff like that. So they're like, that's what I want. I want to do the same thing. So I love to hear that, coming from them, and just knowing that they're going to do way better than we did. So I feel blessed, in that aspect.
Hey, Marvin, give me a tip. Somebody is, they don't feel like they're part of the team. They're not from this country. They weren't born in the same situation, so they feel different. What tip would you give them about succeeding and having a better life with us?
Okay. The first thing I would say is that you have to believe that you deserve the same success as everybody else. It doesn't matter what your background is, or if you had to learn English when you were 14 or 15. And then having positive affirmations every morning, just telling yourself that you deserve it, that you can be successful, that you make things happen. So just believing in that, and just connecting the thoughts to your heart, every single day, saying the same thing, will get you out of that rut, because we think about it too much. We get into our heads, and we just create these fake scenarios, things that don't even happen, or we're like, oh, maybe they're thinking this about me. No, they're just trying to survive. But we got to know that we're enough. So I can tell you, you are enough. You don't need to look around or have somebody else do it for you. You are enough.
Marvin, thank you so much. Congratulations on what you've done for your family, the example you set, not just for your family, but others that don't feel like they're a perfect fit. When they feel like they're being discriminated or they're going to be held down. Thank you for fighting and succeeding for your family and for other families that get to watch you. You're on a bigger pedestal than just right there on your home, buddy. You're on a national scene. Thank you for serving. Thank you for giving, and thank you for this interview. You've been so open and honest. I appreciate your time.
Andy, thank you so much for having me on this call. This has been amazing. And I just hope that this can give other people that inspiration that they need, that you can do it too. If I can do it, I know you can do it.
So that wraps up our N247 RU podcast. My name is Andy Albright. Follow me on social media at Andy S. Albright and click here and follow us for more information.